Have you ever actually stopped to think about the food you eat? And I don't just mean looking at calories or macros, but how the exact method you use to prepare it might be impacting your inner state. Like, does the way you cook your food literally alter your consciousness? It's a fascinating question, right? And today, we're going to explore the really surprising connections between physical heat, the vessels we use, and the subtle energy that gets transferred right into our daily meals. Okay, let's dive into this explainer. We're going on a journey today that bridges global spiritual texts, from ancient Vedic verses to universal mindful traditions and even feng shui, with modern thermodynamics and today's geopolitical energy crises. We'll be looking at how human beings have historically viewed the act of cooking, not just as some chemical process to make food digestible, but as a deeply transformative practice that affects our health, our taste buds, and yep, our minds. So, here's our roadmap for today. First, we'll look at the power of Agni, then the science of earthen pots, the Jagannath mystery, modern cooking in crises, food, consciousness, and purity, and finally, we'll wrap up with the future of cooking.
All right, part 1, the power of Agni, the spiritual transformer.
So, in Ayurveda and yogic philosophy, fire is known as Agni Tattva, and this is seen as so much more than just a physical combustion process. It's considered one of the 5 great elements, and it acts as a genuine spiritual power. Ancient texts actually view fire as the foundational bridge between the material and the divine. You see, just as physical fire transforms raw ingredients into nourishing food, the subtle energy of Agni is believed to transform, purify, and uplift human consciousness. It's basically a vital life force energy. And there's a direct scriptural reference here from the Atharva Veda that illustrates this perfectly. It is so fascinating to trace how Agni evolves across the 4 Vedas. In the oldest text, the Rig Veda, Agni is this massive cosmic principle of creation. But by the time we get to the Atharva Veda, Agni's role expands beautifully into a force for healing and protection. It becomes this everyday benefactor, invoked to ward off disease and purify spaces. It really proves that fire was revered as a holistic tool for both physical health and spiritual well-being. Moving on to part 2. Science of earthen pots, biomass and clay. Now, what's really interesting about this is the stark nutritional contrast between traditional and modern cookware. When we use unglazed clay pots, the clay conducts heat very slowly and evenly through far infrared radiation. And this gentle process retains up to 90% of heat-sensitive nutrients, like vitamin C and B-complex vitamins. But compare that to your standard stainless steel or aluminum pans. Their rapid, really intense heat transmission can degrade those delicate vitamins much faster, leaving you with only 60 to 70% nutrient retention. However, we do need to look at the whole picture impartially here. Traditional cooking in unvented earthen stoves, or chullas, relies on solid biomass fuels like wood or cow dung. And the smoke from these fires creates severe, documented air quality hazards and respiratory risks due to PM 2.5 particles. So it's absolutely crucial to separate the romanticized, but dangerous, smoke of the traditional hearth from the genuine biophysical benefits of the clay vessel itself. The clay provides a highly beneficial, moisture-rich microecology for the food, but the biomass smoke underneath it? Yeah, unfortunately, it doesn't do the same for our lungs. Okay, part 3, the Jagannath Temple Mystery, Sacred Thermodynamics. And this brilliantly illustrates how ancient methods can sometimes completely defy our standard expectations. In the temple kitchen in Puri, they stack 7 unglazed earthen pots directly on top of one another over a charcoal fire. Now, according to standard heat conduction, the bottom pot should obviously cook first, right? But in reality, the topmost pot cooks first. How is that possible? Well, it's an absolute engineering marvel. The stacked pots act as a chimney, pulling a hot convective draft upward. Steam from the lower pots rises through the porous clay, hits the cooler top pot, and condenses, which rapidly transfers latent heat. The trapped moisture then self-bastes the food. It's just a stunning display of sacred thermodynamics. Let's move to part 4 and see how this builds into modern cooking and crises, technology, and geopolitics. Let's look at the science objectively for a second. A lot of people fear microwave ovens because of the scary R word, radiation. But biophysics actually shows us microwaves use 2.45 gigahertz non-ionizing radiation. It literally just rotates water molecules to create friction. There's zero oncogenic or cancer-causing risk. And because it's fast and uses very little water, it actually preserves water-soluble nutrients brilliantly.
On the flip side, clinical research has revealed a pretty surprising risk with domestic steaming. The intense thermal draft of steam can actually aerosolize up to 14.6% of viable waterborne pathogens and a shocking 33.2% of antibiotic-resistant genes right out of municipal tap water and into the air you breathe. Crazy, right?
And the way we power these modern methods is becoming increasingly fragile. Recent geopolitical events like the closure of the Strait of Hormuz caused severe LPG shortages, which actively forced households to rapidly seek alternatives. So we're seeing a massive surge in demand for decentralized, clean cooking solutions. People are turning to home-generated biogas models like Vayumitra, they're mass-adopting solar cookers that run on pure sunlight, and they're utilizing smokeless biopellet stoves to bridge the gap between traditional fuel independence and modern clean air standards.
All right, part 5, food, consciousness, and purity, the metaphysics of cooking.
So the crucial point here is how philosophical traditions categorize what we consume. The Bhagavad Gita outlines 3 qualities, or triganas, of food. You have sattvic food, which is wholesome, juicy, and mindfully prepared, promoting clarity and longevity. Then there's rajasic food, which is bitter, sour, or overly spicy, causing restlessness and distress. And finally, tamasic food, which is stale, highly processed, or automated, leading to lethargy and confusion. What's super fascinating is the modern debate around AI and automated cooking. Some esoteric traditions suggest that if food is cooked entirely by a machine, completely devoid of human touch, intent, and devotion, it might become karmically inert, or tamasic, because it lacks the subtle positive impressions humans transfer while cooking. And this ties directly into the concept of anashuddhi. This is the Vedic philosophy that the purity of food is literally the material foundation for the purity of your mind. Across many esoteric traditions, cooking isn't just chemistry, it's a focal practice. As the philosopher Tulsidas warned, we must avoid hypocrisy. Pure food must be matched with pure thought. The mindset, the devotion, and the care of the cook are believed to transfer subtle energy into the meal, which in turn builds the consciousness of the person who ultimately eats it. Which brings us to part 6, the future of cooking, a necessary synthesis. So what does this all mean? Well, the answer lies in synthesis. We can merge these paradigms. Imagine pairing the incredible nutritional benefits of an unglazed clay pot with the zero-emission safety of a clean electric induction cooktop. Or shifting our heavy electric cooking to daytime solar hours, aligning our modern grid with natural planetary cycles. And this synthesis isn't just an Indian concept, by the way. Whether it's Buddhist mindful cooking, kosher and halal preparations, or balancing the fire element through feng shui kitchen placement, traditions worldwide all agree on one thing: preserving human agency, the stirring, the seasoning, the devotion in an increasingly automated age. To really anchor why all of this matters, we can look to this profound ancient wisdom from the Chandogya Upanishad. It says, "From the purity of food comes the purification of the inner nature. From the purity of the mind comes a steady memory of the divine, and from steady memory comes liberation from all spiritual bondage." As philosophers like Chanakya and Adi Shankaracharya warned, we shouldn't be deceived by mere appearances or external gadgets. True discipline comes from within. The totally mundane act of making dinner actually carries profound weight for our ultimate well-being. And that brings us to the end of this explainer. I want to leave you with this final provocative thought. As we face a world of rapidly changing technologies and geopolitical energy crises, how will you prepare your next meal? Will you blindly adopt every new automation, rigidly cling to the past? Or will you find a conscious synthesis that honors tradition, protects your physical health, and elevates your mind? The kitchen is yours. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning how the everyday choices you make shape your reality.